The Wisconsin Badgers add an emerging 2026 running back to their class. What does it mean for the rest of that running back room?
You are Locked On Badgers, your daily podcast on the Wisconsin Badgers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is going on, Badger fans? Welcome to Locked On Badgers, your team every single day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, the number one sports podcast network in the country. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being a part of this community. We got good news today. We got a fun show. Qwantavius Wiggins commits to the Wisconsin Badgers, 2026 high three-star running back coming out of Fairburn, Georgia. Wiggins, 5'10", 195 pounds, offers from Auburn, Florida State, Minnesota, Pitt, Oregon State, Cincinnati. He has 27, I think it is, total offers. And this is a player that was starting to get more interest. Again, some interesting SEC type offers down there, ACC type offers down there. We're going to talk about his game, what it kind of means for Amari Latimer and maybe the rest of this class and the running back room going into next year. But first, it's been a minute since we got to fire one of these. Let's fire the cannons.
Fire the recruiting cannons. Another one is headed to Madison on Wisconsin.
All right, let's talk about Wiggins. Interesting film, fun guy to watch on film for sure. As usual, we're going to put the film up here. So as we talk about his game, you guys can watch it too. Throw your thoughts in the comments. What do you see? What do you like about it? Let's throw that film up right here, if we can. There we go.
Russell play. Cut back.
All right, so Wiggins, a couple things we like here, a couple things I like. And again, feel free to throw your thoughts in the comments. What do you like about it when you see the film? I really like the vision. He runs instinctually like a running back. He runs like somebody who has experience. He has some natural tendency to him. Shifts the ball from the right to left hand when he gets in the open field. Between the tackles, like a lot of high school running backs, when you see, they're just obviously the best athletes on the field at times. They're just bouncing things because they can. They're doing things they shouldn't and doing things that wouldn't work at the next level because they can. Not with Wiggins. It's really instinctive. It's very natural. He's running out of the type of offense that we're going to run out of. He's running between the tackles. He's seeing a hole. He's seeing vision, following his blocks, letting it sit up. And then when he sees it, bam, north-south, foot in the ground. I think one of the best attributes about Wiggins is the acceleration. You see him get from seeing the hole, finding it, to a version of his top speed really, really quickly. Now, I don't think we're going to talk about some of the question marks, maybe why he's not a 4-star, why he's maybe a 3-star. And again, this is just me looking at it. Feel free to throw your thoughts in the comments as well. I don't think the top speed is elite, but he gets there really quickly. I think his 0 to 10, his 0 to 20 is probably on par with kind of the elite backs. And maybe he just doesn't have that extra gear, but I really, really like his ability to see a hole, and he doesn't mess around. It's foot in the ground, north, south. I'm going to get to top speed and I'm going to exploit and get into that secondary. He's got some interesting capability there. Open field, you see a natural player in the open field, breaks tackles, really good stop and start. I think the agility, if and when he ever does some of those testing numbers, some of those combine numbers, I'm guessing his cone agility, those type of drills are going to test out really well for him. That's a short clip, so we're going to play it again so you guys can see it again. So I like him in open space. I like the agility. I like his ability to get north-south. You saw some returner clips, which I think are also interesting. I think generally people always look for speed with returners. I almost think it's vision and agility, start and stop ability that are the best attributes for the best returners. Now, obviously, they need burners too. But if you can see the field and you can kind of start, stop on a dime, I think that lends itself really well to the return game. You see some of that with him here. Probably a guy that's going to lend itself pretty well into the third down game. We saw one clip of him catching a pass. I know there's some other longer footage out there of him doing that as well. So I think out of the backfield, screen passes, little swing passes, third down, get him out in space, let him use that vision, that start and stop. I like him. I think he's an interesting prospect, a good, nice ad, late ad, high 3-star kid, 89 composite. So you are talking right on the verge of kind of a very high 3-star, low 4-star type player coming out of a place that plays really good football typically. I think you see a lot of the physical skills. If you were to comp him to another Badger, maybe some Darion Dupree from a couple years ago, that kind of shiftiness. I don't know if he runs with the same type of contact balance that Dupree did. Maybe a little Ogbowale, to be honest, maybe a little Dare, that type of athlete, which, by the way, Dare's still in the NFL. So I think it's a really nice pickup. And I think it's a player that will fit well into the type of offense that Wisconsin is going to want to run. I think between the tackles, that type of vision, and that just running ability can be hard to find sometimes. And the physical skill set, I think, also matches up. Let's grab some comments here. I am in a hotel room, so hopefully the audio and everything is fine. Tyler, we're going to talk about this next. Any connection with Latimer? Smo is just dropping the bomb, firing the cannons. Brett says, it's nice to see you out of the airport. I barely made it. I barely made it. Tyler also mentions his nickname is Fat Boy. I did see that, which is funny because the dude just runs away from people. Greg Lincecum, he did decommit. So, yeah, it's a great question. Greg asks, is he a late bloomer or did he decommit from another school? I should have started that off at the beginning of the show. He decommitted from FIU, and he was starting to get interest from a lot of other schools. You know, some offers from pretty big schools, getting some visits set up. This is a player that the staff was able to close on, somebody that, if you're a baseball person, you know, late riser, he's kind of a guy with helium is what they would call it for baseball, like prospects that later in the process would start to rise up the board. There were helium guys. This is a helium running back. I think it's a really good get. There's real physical tools here. There's other schools that are seeing that are getting in on him. Again, I think my questions would be, and these aren't necessarily things he can do. When you look at the size, is he going to be physical enough? Could he be a workhorse type back, or is he more of a third down, share the load type of guy? And then I do think the top end speed, you see it a couple times in clips, he initially creates angles very quickly because of his burst, but then he doesn't always pull away from people. I think he's playing pretty fast defenses. I think he's in a part of the country with a lot of athletes, so it doesn't bother that much. And to be perfectly frank, Melvin Gordon wasn't a burner, but it was his burst. I mean, among other things, right? It was his burst that was incredible. I think if you have that burst and that acceleration, that's more important than just straight line speed if you have to pick one or the other, because it's not often you're going to break an 80-yarder. But if you can consistently get in the secondary because of your speed and your acceleration and break 10-yarders, 20-yarders, I think that's more valuable because I think that gets used more. I really like the skill set. And Tyler said he decommitted from FIU. JJ says, plus we beat Minnesota for him. Chop that. Always good when you beat Minnesota for a guy. All right, let me bring it back up here. Whoa, that is an interesting aspect ratio. That's not what I'm looking for. Let's do, hold on. Nope. All my stuff got messed up on my travel. Oh my gosh, come on. There it is. All right. Thank you for sticking with me on that. So, yeah, Badgers add another player to their 2026 class. I don't think they're done there, and they're obviously still trying to hold on to a lot of their key players, which we're going to talk about next. What does the addition of Wiggins mean for Amari Latimer? What does it mean for the running back group coming up next year? You still have young players in this room. Let's talk about that question next on Locked On Badgers. But first, a quick second. Let me tell you about our incredible friends of the show over at FanDuel. As the NBA season is here. And if you want to get in on all the action over at FanDuel, the official sports book of the Locked On Podcast Network, there's no better place to do it than FanDuel. Live in-game parlays, and you can do the same game parlays with FanDuel to spice up your sports weekend, to make it even more fun, to make it even more enjoyable. FanDuel is the ultimate place to do all of that type of action. Again, the official sports book of the Locked On Podcast Network, and a great new offer where right now, if you are new customers, if you bet $5, you can get $300 in bonus bets over at FanDuel. That's an incredible offer. So get in on the action today. Download the app. FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, let's talk big picture here. What does this mean? What does this mean for Amari Latimer? What does this mean for the rest of this running back room? I think it's a really interesting question because for a long time, it was really just, we're going to take Amari Latimer. We're going to take one running back in this 2026 class. I think there's a couple things at play here. I think you do have to provide some insurance, right? I don't think this means Amari Latimer's gone. Let me start there. Let me not bury the lead, right? That's a journalist thing. Let's not bury the lead. I don't think Amari Latimer's gone because of this. But I think if you're being realistic, you have to understand the possibility of players leaving and provide insurance, right? Amari Latimer's not, he is such a caliber of back. He's not going to be, every place he's going to go is competition. So this is not going to turn him away from Wisconsin. But in case he goes somewhere else, you want a bird in the hand, right? You need something in your back pocket. And Wiggins is more than a consolation prize. I think he's a really good back. He's a player that a lot of years, this could be one of your better running backs in your class. So you have him as insurance in case Latimer leaves. I don't think this means he is, but we know he's taking visits to Ohio State. We know he's taking visits to Tennessee. And I don't begrudge him for that whatsoever. I think he's doing his due diligence. But because of that, it's important to just, provide yourself with some insurance. I think that's part of it. I think the next part of it is you just need good players, right? And insurance or not, if you feel like this is a good enough running back that can come in and help you, that can help you down the road, that can be in your system, that can play for you, sometimes you just need to pick up good players when you can pick them up. This isn't the biggest class as of right now. You have room to add a couple athletes. This is definitely a pretty high-level athlete that, if he can catch the ball, could even transition maybe to a slot receiver. Obviously, you're going to leave him at running back, but you just want athletes. You need athletic guys to play football. And if you have the chance to add one at this point in the cycle, I don't think it's a bad thing. Going forward, running backs next year, what could it mean? I do think you're going to see some movement in this room. I don't want to speculate on that because I don't want to put names out there. But we are in the era of college football where these things happen. You have a couple backs this year that have gotten dinged up. Obviously, you're starting to see the emergence of a Gideon Atuka. You are going to be going into next year maybe with some question marks there in terms of either players coming back or players coming back off of injury. You need depth. So we've seen Darren Dupree get hurt this year. We've seen Dylan Jones get hurt this year. We've seen Cade Yakimelli get hurt this year. You're down to Gideon Atuka and Jackson Aker, right? So having more depth there, I think, is starting to play into this staff's mind across the board. You need more depth at offensive line. We saw what happened there this year. You need more depth at quarterback. We saw what happened this year. You need more depth at safety. We saw what happened this year. You need more depth at running back. So again, if you have the opportunity to pick up a talented player like this, go and get them. So to answer your question, Tyler, that you had previously, I don't think this means necessarily that Amari Latimer's gone. I don't think that this is imminent danger of him leaving because they added this other running back. I think they looked holistically at the class. They saw you have a running back that could leave. We have running backs that are hurt, and this is an opportunity to pounce and get some depth. And I've used this analogy before. Sometimes when you're going to the grocery store and you're going for chips and pickles, and you walk by the drink aisle, and you're like, wow, that's a really good deal on that. I don't need that, but I can't pass up that. Sometimes that's recruiting. Like, I don't know if you needed Wiggins, but man, he's a good player that you can bring in. He's an athlete. And if you can add that, you add that. A couple more comments in here. JB says, fire the cannons. We did, man. You missed it. Win over a top 25 team and a new commit. What a great week. Tyler Strieber. Happy Veterans Day, Ryan. Appreciate your service. No, dude, thank you. And for everyone else, I should have led with this. For everyone in the community, everyone who has a family member that served, everybody in our Discord, definitely want to wish everybody a happy Veterans Day. Thank you for everything you've done. Many of you have done incredible things, and I appreciate it. We all appreciate it. We get to do what we get to do because, in no small part, because of our great military and the incredible people there. And I can just tell you really quick, not to take too much of a tangent on this, but there are, because sometimes in this country we get frustrated, right? Just by big picture things, what's happening, whether this is never a political show, and we're not going anywhere close to that, but sometimes there's just frustration. And let me tell you, specifically in the submarine force, because that's where I was, you have incredible people representing you. Incredible people, like brilliant, dedicated, leaving their families for 6 months at a time to go in deployment, in doing torpedo loads in Groton, Connecticut in the middle of the winter, standing topside for 8 hours a day, doing incredible things. So very thankful for all of them and all of you. Brett says, come on, Ryan, Latimer's gone. I'm telling you, I'm not sure. Maybe he is, right? And listen, if he were to leave, nothing ever surprises me in recruiting in the transfer portal ever anymore. If he were to leave, I'm telling you right now, based on what I've heard, he's not gone. Now, you can certainly connect dots and say, well, they added a running back. He's taking visits. His season's been a struggle. And all those dots connect to him probably leaving. And that's fair. I'm not going to argue with you on that, but I don't think he's necessarily gone. We're going to take one more quick second here, and then we're going to come back, get the rest of your questions and thoughts, touch on the 26 class a little bit more, and wrap up the show. But again, a big commit for the Badgers. Wiggins jumping on board. Let me tell you about our great friends of the show over at Gametime. Gametime's incredible, right? If you want to be in the crowd with your people in Camp Randall, like last week in Camp Randall, could have gone to Gametime, gotten tickets, been in the snow, been in the elements, been in the environment, beat Washington, rush the field, go high-five Mason Posa, and you get those tickets to that experience at Gametime. What's better than that? bring your kids, create the experience. It's just an incredible ticket platform to open up gateways of experiences for you and your family, whether it's basketball, football, baseball, entertainment, Andrews. Let's do more things in life. Talking to you, I'm in a hotel room talking to you about let's do more things in life. Let's come together and have more experiences, and let's open up those experiences with our incredible friends over at Gametime. Absolutely great offer as always on Gametime. You get tickets delivered to your seats, and what are tickets delivered to your phone and your email. What you see is what you're going to pay. There's no hidden fees on Gametime. Take the guesswork out of buying college football tickets or any other type of tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app. Use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your purchase. Terms to apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Gametime today. Let's finish off some of your questions. Any other thoughts you have with this 26 class? Put them in there. Let's bring it up here. JB also said, Happy Veterans Day, Seaman Ryan. I went past that rank. That's how I entered the Navy, though. Greg Lincecum, I agree with Tyler. Thank you again for your service, Ryan. And everybody else, I would always add everybody else. Okay. Not a Whale says, Hoo-yah, Badgers. Let's go. Greg Lincecum said, don't forget Grover Bortolotti, also in that room. JB says, just keep Catalano, Posta, and Heiberger. Heiberger is going to be tough. And based on nothing I've heard, Posta and Catalano aren't going anywhere. Catalano I just got done saying I'll never be surprised in recruiting. Catalano's a Wisconsin kid, like a player I was fortunate enough to have on the show. I don't think he's going anywhere, period. You got to pay. Let's pay. You got to pay fair market value. Don't rip the kid off because he wants to stay in Wisconsin, but I don't think he's going anywhere. Posta has been nothing but effusive in his praise of this is where I want to be. This is where I wanted to commit. He loves playing with Coop. I'm telling you, I don't think those guys are going anywhere. Now, you still have to pay them. Don't get cheap, but I don't think they're going anywhere. Heiberger is interesting just because, again, nothing I've heard, but he's a player. When you look for the path to playing time, you have Cooper, you have Catalano, Cooper, you have Posta. I think Christian Allegro is going to be back, and I think maybe you put him on the edge. You have Nicholas Clayton you have to get reps for. You just start to wonder where are those reps for Heiberger, who played quite a bit against Washington, by the way. I still like him as an athlete, but you start to wonder where those reps are. Mm-hmm. Brazilian Branco says, I may be critical of you, but thank you for your service. Man, I appreciate you being critical of me. Hold me accountable. This channel is always about if you can respectfully be critical of people, let's do it. Let's have real conversations and real discourse. And, if we disagree, that's great. Disagreements are great. I always say that because it forces you to defend your position. You hear different perspectives. You learn things. I'm wrong all the time. I always say that. And I'm also right once in a while. But I'm wrong a lot. But that's what happens. And you have disagreements and you move on. And I think it's great. So, no, Brazilian, man, I appreciate you. Badger Bournemouth says, I think Latimer will stay. JB says his dad was a Purple Heart recipient. Man, thank you for your dad, JB. I really appreciate that, brother. Greg says, who have we lost from the 26th class so far? We did just lose Aiden Reeder, the linebacker that committed to Michigan. He was really good. He's a freak. That one stung. Tayshawn Bartle decommitted, but that was a little bit on both ends there. So we did lose him. You haven't really lost much else other than that, but it is a small class as well. You got to give one thing I've said, and maybe we'll end on this. You have to give this staff credit for holding this class together through a really trying season. And I can promise you, because these are things I've heard and kind of been talked about, there are vultures circling. There are schools negatively recruiting Wisconsin, which they should do. That's smart, right? They're competitors. They don't know Wisconsin anything. Recruiting is not for the faint of heart. And this staff has held this group together so far. Outside of an Aiden Reeder, you do have a couple players. Jaden Petit has taken visits. We talked about Amari Latimer has taken visits. Dijaba has taken visits, right? So, Carmelo Reed's another one that we lost, sorry. Early on, a defensive lineman who flipped, I think it was to Ole Miss. But aside from that, this team has done a pretty good job of holding it together. Greg Lincecum said, can you see Posta or Allegro moving outside next year? I love this question. I was literally talking today in the last couple of days about I like Christian Allegro moving to the outside. So I think you can't take Coop or Posta off the field at this point. But I really like Allegro as an edge setter, somebody who gets north and south. He's disruptive. He's physical. I think if you put him on the outside and kind of turn him into a bit of a hybrid defensive end linebacker who's going to rush the passer, set the edge, be physical. And then you have Coper. I merged Mason Posa and Cooper Catalano's name. I put them together like a transformer. But if you have that Posa Catalano pairing in the middle, just roaming, doing their thing instinctually, and then just have CA attacking, I like that. I like those three linebackers out there together because I love CA. I like the intensity he plays with. I like the physical nature he plays with. He comes downfield really well. I don't know if you love him in space as much, but I do really, really like that trio out there. So, yeah, I would do what I could to get Allegro on the field, and I would probably put him on the outside. All right, we're going to wrap it there. Appreciate all of you. Basketball game later today. So this was kind of a pop-up surprise live show from the hotel because we got a commit, which is very exciting. I think a really good commit. I'm excited to get him. But later today we got hoops. So a ton coming up on Wisconsin. Appreciate all of you as always.